Welcome back to Talking Business as Usual. Today, we are digging into a massive shockwave that's rattling the software world. I mean, a sector that was, for years, the absolute darling of Wall Street has just been hit by this sudden, really severe wave of panic. We're talking about a real sell-off, and it's all tied to one single powerful new development in artificial intelligence. You know, this quote right here from Mizuho Securities just nails the mood on the street perfectly. I mean, stop and think about that for a second. No reasons to own software. This is not just some minor market correction. This is a deep, almost existential dread gripping investors who, maybe just a year ago, couldn't buy this stuff fast enough. So the real question is, what's with this sudden 180? And, well, here's the hard data to back it all up. A key Morgan Stanley SaaS index is down a whopping 15% year to date. To give you some context, that's its worst start to a year since the 2008 financial crisis. We're seeing huge names, Intuit, Adobe, Salesforce, all tumbling more than 10% in just a few weeks. So yeah, this is not just noise, it's a major market event. So that really brings us to the heart of our explainer today. What could possibly be so disruptive that it makes seasoned investors run for the hills from a sector known for its sticky, reliable revenue? What on earth is this new tech that's causing so much fear? Well, the short answer is your new AI coworker. The thing that really lit the fuse on this whole sell-off was a research preview from the AI startup Anthropic. They showed off a tool that acts less like a tool and more like an AI coworker. And this, believe me, represents a massive leap in what AI can actually do in an office setting. Now, to really get this, you have to understand the concept of Agentic AI. This isn't like the chatbots we're used to. An AI agent doesn't just answer your questions. No, it takes on complex goals. It can create a whole multi-step plan, use different pieces of software, and then actually execute that plan from start to finish with very little help from you. A really great way to think about this is to compare it to something developers call vibe coding. With vibe coding, a programmer doesn't write every single line of code. They just describe what they want, make the button blue and have it bounce a little. This new tool from Anthropic, it's basically vibe coding for your daily job. You're not doing the steps anymore, you're just describing the final report you want to see on your desk.
And this is what makes it so incredibly powerful. It can directly access files on your computer, so no more uploading and downloading. For a really big, complicated task, it can break it down and give pieces to sub-agents to work on at the same time. And it doesn't just spit out plain text, it creates finished professional documents, like Excel sheets with formulas that actually work. This thing is a genuine workhorse.
So this new capability creates this massive divide right down the middle of the software industry. It's forcing investors to ask a really critical question. Which business models are about to get steamrolled and which ones are actually set to benefit? Suddenly, it's not about who has the flashiest tech, it's about whose business model is actually aligned with this new AI-driven world. This disruption matrix gives us a fantastic high-level view of the new landscape, and you can see a really clear split. Categories like your traditional SaaS and automation software, they're marked as susceptible. Meanwhile, infrastructure and cybersecurity are seen as durable. The reason for the split really boils down to one simple question. Does your company get paid for human work or for machine work? For that first group, the susceptible ones, the big threat is this idea of seat compression. Okay, think about companies like Salesforce or Workday. Their entire business model is built on charging a fee for every human employee, every seat that uses their software. But what happens when one AI agent can do the work of, say, 3 junior employees? Well, the company simply doesn't need to pay for those other 2 seats. And just like that, revenue starts to shrink. But on the flip side of that coin, you've got the massive benefit of consumption. Companies like Snowflake or MongoDB, they don't charge you per person. They charge for the amount of data and computing power you use. An AI agent is literally the perfect customer for them. It's a super user that works 24/7, constantly running queries, processing information, and driving that consumption revenue straight through the roof. And what's so fascinating here is that this affects both old and new software, but in completely different ways. You've got legacy systems, those old internal mainframes. They face what you'd call functional disruption. The AI can finally operate them, basically replacing the human interface. But then you have modern systems like Salesforce facing economic disruption. The AI doesn't break the software itself. It breaks the business model that pays for it. And please, do not underestimate the scale of these legacy systems. This number is it's shocking. 70% of the software running our biggest corporations is over 2 decades old. These are the systems that have no modern APIs, the ones that have been impossible to automate until now.
I just love this analogy because it is absolutely perfect. For years, the only way you could interact with these zombie systems was to have a person sit there and type on a keyboard, acting as a kind of human API. Agentic AI changes the entire game because it can see the screen, just like a person does. It can finally talk to the zombies, unlocking decades of trapped processes and value.
Okay, so understanding the tech is one thing. Now let's switch gears and talk about how you can actually navigate this as an investor. And we'll tie it all back to that massive sell-off we started with.
This right here is the billion-dollar question for investors right now, isn't it? Is this a sell-everything moment for software? A fundamental breakdown of the entire sector? Or is the market just painting everything with the same big negative brush, maybe creating a rare opportunity to pick up some really high-quality companies that have been unfairly punished?
And you know, when you look at the fundamental metrics, you can already see this split happening. We're looking at revenue growth and the Rule of 40. That's just a quick health check where a company's revenue growth and profit margin should add up to 40% or more. A durable company like CrowdStrike and a consumption-based one like AppLovin are just crushing it on these metrics. Meanwhile, a seat-based giant like Salesforce is seeing its growth slow down a lot. The thesis is already playing out in the numbers.
So, this leads to a pretty clear consensus from analysts on the names that are most at risk. Companies like Salesforce, UiPath, and DocuSign are on the avoid list. Why? Because their core business model is directly in the crosshairs of that deflationary pressure from seat compression. Their entire value proposition is tied to human workers, and that is the very thing AI agents are set to reduce.
But on the other hand, those durable categories are now being seen as a buy-on-the-dip opportunity. I mean, think about it. Would any big organization really just unleash these autonomous AI agents inside their network without any oversight? No way. So cybersecurity from companies like CrowdStrike and Palo Alto Networks becomes a non-negotiable, mandatory expense to basically police this powerful new workforce.
And beyond just security, analysts are pointing to a couple of other interesting spots in the market. You've got speculative buys like AppLovin, which uses that consumption model in the ad tech space. And then there's deep value in companies like Constellation Software. They focus on super specific, vertical software for niche industries, like software for managing a vineyard. A general-purpose AI is just not going to disrupt those highly specialized tools anytime soon.
Okay, now, of course, while we're mentioning specific companies to illustrate the point here, it is absolutely crucial to remember that this is for informational purposes only. This is not financial advice. You should always do your own thorough research before making any investment decisions.
So let's bring it all together. After digging into the technology, the different business models, and the market's pretty wild reaction, what's the final verdict on this great software sell-off? The most important takeaway is this. The winners and losers in this new era won't be decided by who has the fanciest AI features. It's going to be decided by whose business model is actually aligned with this new reality of AI agents. It all comes down to a simple question. Do you make money from humans clicking buttons or from machines consuming data?
And that brings us to the final question we should all really be thinking about. As these AI agents become a standard part of our daily work, which software will become their indispensable, must-have tools, and which ones will simply be replaced, becoming just another forgotten feature of the agent itself? That is the multi-trillion-dollar question at the heart of this software sell-off. Thanks so much for joining us on Talking Business as Usual.